Hey, welcome in, guys. Tobin here with you, and thanks for checking out the channel. If you guys could subscribe, that'd be great. Thanks for stopping on by. Hit that like button, comment, and let's get to it. Miami Heat finally going to be back on the court on Sunday night, 6 o'clock count. Mountain Day? Is that Mountain Day? I always get into arguments about this. 6 o'clock from the Kaseya Center. Getting going. And will be an interesting one for sure. Miami has had a long break. They've been off since last Monday. It's pretty interesting looking at the standings right now because the Miami Heat are technically the 5 seed right now with a .462 win percentage. But they've only played 13 games, which is pretty weird when you're looking at their, I guess, having a week off will do that. But, you would have thought like something like that, Miami would have had a lot of games in the books already. But you look at most of the teams in the East right now, they're at the very least at 16 games. Some of them are at 17 games. Like Cleveland 16 and 1, they've had 17. Orlando's 10 and 7, they've had 17. 16 for the Bucks, 17 for the Bulls, 17 for the Pistons, 17 for the Hawks. Really odd to 17 for the 17 or 16 for the Nets. Yeah. So most teams are like around 16, 17 outside of like the Wizards, who also have 14. So the Heat are playing their 14th game against the Dallas Mavericks. But just kind of an oddity to see this around the league right now. Now, Miami can make their record 500 tomorrow. They're taking on a Mavericks team that had a good win in Luka Doncic's first game in an absence. They're able to beat the Denver Nuggets 123-120. Najee Marshall had a monster game off the bench for the Dallas Mavericks. He had 26 off the bench in this victory. If you remember, Najee Marshall and Jimmy Buckets got into it when he was a Pelican last year, and it started a bit of a brouhaha. So that will be an interesting side note for this game. But might not have Jimmy Butler, as the injury report came out for the Miami Heat. Mostly positive, but a very notable injury update that has everybody kind of... Drew Smith, he has a right knee bone bruise, so he is going to miss tomorrow's game, so the Heat will not have Drew Smith coming off of his great performance on Monday. Terry Rozier dealing with his foot injury. He's listed as probable for the Miami Heat. And Jaime Jaquez Jr. is available for the Miami Heat. But Jimmy Butler, he has an illness and is questionable with that illness. So we do not know yet. Maybe he caught it from, I'm not even joking about this. You saw him hugging on Joel Embiid. Maybe he caught something from Joel Embiid. I've seen some national reports say like a lot of stuff has gone through the NBA this time of year. We know that Jaime took him out for a couple of games after the trip to Mexico. I don't know. Hard to know if this is related or what, but Jimmy Butler is questionable on Sunday with an illness. But getting Jaime Jaquez back, you'd imagine if Jimmy can't go, Jaime probably will take his spot in the starting lineup, I'd imagine. And, it's an interesting one for Jaime because, we haven't, had, I think, the breakout Jaime Jaquez game. There's been so much talk we've had about Kel'el Ware and Pelle Larsson and the rookies, but certainly, I think everybody has looked to Jaime and wondering what is his season going to be, this being his second year in the NBA. And now, he had that gnarly ankle injury that forced him to miss the last game. But, before he got hurt, he was in a bit of a shooting slump as far as from downtown. I think he was 1 for his last 11 or maybe 1 for 12. But Jaquez came into this year saying that he wanted to be a knockdown shooter, even though that was one of the knocks on him coming into the league, that this is not a guy who is going to shoot from distance. Still a lot of time to shore that up. He got off to a nice start for this season. He hasn't shot it a lot from 3, but it has definitely been one of those things noticeable with him that, he's definitely been in a bit of a slump ski. In fact, hasn't had a game with multiple 3-pointers since October 28th. And since then, he's only hit 1 3-pointer, and that was in the win against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Got off to a great start, but you'd love to see that kind of come around. Now, as far as scoring is concerned, he had 2 of his better scoring games back-to-back before having the ankle injury hit up. So it was a give and take. It wasn't like a pure slump. It was more of a downtown thing that he was dealing with. But certainly for Jaime, a lot of big expectations on him this year. It's been a little bit overshadowed by a few things. He's not really looked upon as one of the leaders of the team because he's only a sophomore player, but he was so important last year. He was the great surprise of last year. All this talking we're talking about, the Heat whiffing on Jared McCain, who's obviously coming off a monster performance where he's peacocking and calling himself Rookie of the Year, and deservedly so. The kid has been awesome, even with the 76ers being god-awful. But Jaime was one of the steals of the draft last year, was an all-conference winner for the first 2 months of the season, finished as a first-team all-rookie by the time the year had ended. And so you'd like to know, hey, where is this going to get up? One of the other sensational rookies last year was Derek Lively. And Derek Lively, of course, the Miami Heat fan, will get a look. And a lot of people have been comparing Kel'el Ware to Derek Lively and some of the skill sets that he have with a little bit more range. And look, the Kel'el thing's not going anywhere for the Heat fan. So long as Jared McCain keeps putting up monster numbers, it's almost got that Tua Justin Herbert highlight on it, which it was the worst for Tua the rookie year because Tua, first of all, didn't start all the way like Justin Herbert did, and Herbert was putting up like astronomical Dan Marino record-breaking numbers as a rookie, and it was noticeable right off the bat, and I think I probably swayed a lot of opinion on Tua right away. And unfortunately for Kel'el, that's where we're at right now with him. And it's not to say that he is going to be a bust because it is way too soon to call that fight, but it just puts more of a spotlight on it. That being said, man, there's been a lot of positive stuff that have come out of these last 3 days of the Heat having practice. Kevin Love was speaking to the media today. He said that he has been awesome. That was the word that Kevin Love used, that he has been absolutely awesome, that it is a game of patience. It is a game of like trying to maintain your level of confidence, but that they want him to go in there and just basically block the bleep out of everything, just go absolutely crazy when he does get those opportunities. And then Erik Spoelstra, to his point, he was asked about the comparisons to Derek Lively for Kel'el, and he said, I don't want to compare. He says, I know that Kel'el is very talented. I've seen him improve since the summer, and he's been a joy to work with and to develop him. And the guys like playing with him and are earning his and he is earning their trust. So a lot you have been getting a lot of positive things and words from Erik Spoelstra, and I think he's got to be aware of the narrative too. And he talked a little bit about all the things that a center has to do to get that trust in coverage and offense and knowing all of the system. It's a bit of a harder transition before Spo will trust you all the way. But certainly it does seem like all the talks out of this practice has been a very positive week of practice for him. Pelle Larsson also, this was a cool thing where Pelle was playing one-on-one with Bam Adebayo after practice, and he had said that if there's a one-on-one, Pelle Larsson's going to be involved. So still keep a note on the Heat rookies. It does feel like the coach is keeping a positive mindset on them. It is a pretty deep Heat team, though. This rotation does have talent in it. But that being said, Spo had said, he had said going into the Sixers game that the urgency is there for Miami. And then he had made the point that they're still not where they want to be. I mean, being an under 500 team in this Eastern Conference, when you have all that in front of you, Miami is going to have this game coming on up. But then they got some monster ones, man. They got a monster one coming up on Tuesday with the Milwaukee Bucks, who are starting to play a lot better basketball. And, of course, that's always going to have a bit of a spotlight for Miami to deal with because the Damian Lillard thing, it just is what it is. They got a back-to-back. It's the front end of a back-to-back. So after all this, it's going to be a very busy week of basketball for them. Dallas, Milwaukee, Charlotte on the road, who they played a very close game with. And then Toronto is going to be at home on Friday, and then they go to Toronto for a game on Sunday at 6. So, you have that, and then you're coming back home. You got a huge week then coming then after that with at Boston, hosting the Lakers, hosting the Suns, hosting Cleveland, hosting Oklahoma City. Those are some of the next games coming up for Miami. So a lot, and then at Orlando. So there's a very, very tough stretch coming up for Miami when December gets going. So you want to close out this month strong. You want to close out this month strong, and it really, really does start with Miami winning these home games, especially a team that is missing their star. Yes, still has a lot of talent. A team that went to the finals, a team that added Klay Thompson, still has Kyrie Irving, has firepower. You cannot sleep on them. But you also don't want to be in a position where, you are allowing them to feel themselves early. So hopefully Miami can get that one right. You're going to have very fresh legs coming into this one. Hopefully Jimmy's a good to go for that one, and you can get into it. But yeah, Miami doesn't have any cheapies, especially with Charlotte being a second end of a back-to-back on the road. Not an easy one, but you got all this rest. I mean, you got all this rest. It does seem like for the most part everybody is healthy. There's not a lot of excuses there for Miami to lag off and not have a good week ahead.